Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. 2 months from tonight, we're all going to be faced with making a decision in the primary election on June 3rd. And, when we take a look at elections and primary elections, a lot of times it's a gamble. How do we choose the right candidate who is going to best serve us? And obviously the answer is to know as much about a candidate as we can from our own concerns and from our own interests. So tonight's forum is being presented to you by the Business and Community Political Action Committee. This committee was started by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, and every year we run forums so the population of the communities have an opportunity to make informed decisions about the candidates for whichever post they're looking at will serve their particular interests. Tonight we are privileged to have with us two gentlemen who are vying for the same position of supervisor for District 5. And we're very thankful that MiraCosta College has provided a forum for us, a room to conduct this forum, the boardroom. And I'd like to invite President Broad to come up here to welcome you to this. And President Broad, David Broad, is the president of MiraCosta College Board of Trustees. Good to see you. Thank you.
Speaking. Is this one working?
You got it.
Okay, hi. Well, I want to say welcome on behalf of College President Francisco Rodriguez. He hasn't left yet, if that's what you're wondering. Many of you know he handed his resignation in, will be leaving the end of May to take on the chancellorship of LA Community College District. I just wanted to let you know we've just appointed an interim superintendent president, Dr. Dick Robertson, our VP of Student Services. So hopefully things will continue on smoothly with that. As I say, I want to say welcome and thank you. I want to thank the Chamber for and the BACPAC, did I get that right? For putting this on, for the staff of MiraCosta, for providing the cookies, recording in the room, and general organization. And to our two candidates, Supervisor Bill Horn and Mayor Jim Wood, firstly for taking part in this forum. It's really important to be able to listen to what the candidates say. I think it's a critical part of democracy. And I want to thank you, as someone who's only been in public service for 3 years, thank you for doing the difficult and important job of being elected officials. So thank you, and I'll leave it to there. Welcome.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So anyway, we're so happy that you're here to enjoy this great opportunity. And thank you, President Broad, for welcoming us to the college. We have two candidates tonight, and they're both very experienced in serving the communities. Gandhi once said, service is the true measure of greatness, and they certainly have illustrated that in many phases of their career. Supervisor Horn was a rancher, avocado and citrus, and when he decided he didn't like the way things are being run, he decided to get involved in that and become a supervisor. He was elected to that, and I believe 5 terms, and he has 1 more eligible term before he reaches the maximum period of time he can have in that office. And Mayor Jim Wood was a policeman in the city of Oceanside for about 31 years, and following that became a member of the city council and mayor. And they both have dedicated themselves selflessly to the service of the communities in which they serve. This is a rather unique situation because the supervisor for District 5 is an immense job. Sometimes in our communities we think about the small area in which we live, but our area goes from the ocean to as far as our community goes. So we have people from Fallbrook and Bonsall. We have, in our audience tonight, we have some people from Vista, San Marcos, Escondido, and of course we have our coastal community of Oceanside. And it's very exciting to have an opportunity to learn about the candidates, because generally we look at information which has been prepared for them, their statements, their reporting to the press. about, and a lot of these things have been created and adjusted by PR firms to get the proper word out that they feel is best. What we do, we kind of sneak up on them and give them questions. And I'd like to tell you how those questions were developed, because we think it's a way for us to get our respective interests responded to in this format. Now, I will tell you that neither of the candidates are aware of what they're going to be questioned about. And that is a rarity in politics. The questions were submitted to us by the area chambers of commerce. So we have a number of cities with their respective chambers of commerce. They have different issues. And we requested and received many, many questions from the chambers of commerce. And even though this is hosted by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce, the questions came from all of the chambers who responded in the entire 5th District. So some of these questions will be unique to them and not of interest to others. And so we wanted to make sure this was going to be as fair as possible. And I mean, even decisions like, how do we determine which candidate is interrogated first? So I had this clever idea. I was going to come up with a deck of cards and say, this is the only thing we do with gambling in this particular subject, and I forgot it. So fortunately, I know that if you want to get anything done at the college, you go to the Office of Development, and we have our development officer, Cynthia Rice, who has come up with a solution so each of these candidates can determine who's going to be questioned first. And what Cynthia has done is prepared 6 cards with numbers from 1 to 6, and we'd like each of you to select a number, and whoever has the lowest number will be the first person to do that. And Jim sounds like he's yielding to,
well, he's a visitor to our city,
to Bill.
please.
So choose a number. Okay, and Jim, you get to do the same.
Thank you very much.
And okay, Mr. Horn, what number do you have?
I have number 2.
Okay, and how about Mr. Horn?
Well,
I mean,
there's
Mr.
There's not 2 of us here. Mr.
Yeah, excuse me. Mr. Horn. Well, your number is?
2.
2, and Mr. Wood?
4.
4, okay. So Supervisor Bill Horn, you get to speak first. And what I'd like to do is give each of you 3 minutes to give a general opening statement. And the way we conduct things in here, to make sure you're not watching the clock, we have spared no expense to find these 2 gentlemen who are going to do that for you. Now, when you have 30 seconds remaining, there will be a yellow signal shown, which looks like that. Then you know you have 30 seconds remaining. And then when your time is up, you have a red one, which looks like this. And if you're up there after the red one, then we go on to the next question, regardless of whether you're finished or not. So Supervisor Bill Horn, would you be kind enough to present us with an opening statement?
All right, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Perfectly.
I want to thank the Chamber for doing this. MiraCosta College, thank you. We had the state of North County here a few weeks ago, and it was a wonderful venue. I've been on the Board of Supervisors 19 years. As was mentioned, I grow avocados and citrus, still do. I sued the County of San Diego over a land use issue, settled out of court, and decided that I was not treated right, and so I decided to run for supervisor. That was 19 years ago. Actually, it was 22 years ago. And I won the race. The 5th District is 1,860 square miles. It is 35 separate communities. Not all have chambers. There are only 4 cities that in the 5th District. The rest are unincorporated areas. In addition to that, I'm very proud of our 19 years on the board. We have one of the highest credit ratings of any government in the country. Our credit rating is AAA, and this is 13 years in a row. Does not happen by chance. Our bond rating is 8 years in a row. It's all AAA. The nice thing about the County of San Diego is we build with cash. We do not have to have these project labor agreements that run up the costs. We currently are building on Kearney Mesa. We have saved about $49 million in labor costs because we could take the bids and we didn't have to stick with the state rules. I'm also chairman of the North County Transit District. I'm happy to report that we opened your San Luis Rey Transit Station, and that's now serving Camp Pendleton and Vista and Oceanside in the Bonsall area. We also got approval from the Department of Defense to build a new station on Camp Pendleton for Amtrak, the coaster. and the Metrolink. Also, another asset we have in North County, which we're working on, is my plan is to extend the runway at Palomar Airport by 900 feet, which will allow international jets to land and take off and reach their destinations such as China and Japan and Australia without refueling. This is a big issue. And so we're planning on that. I'm working with Matt Hall, the mayor of Carlsbad, on this issue. That's one of our biggest assets. That, by the way, that has 2,200 jobs currently at it, $81 million in payroll, and it contributes about $300 million a year to the North County's economy. I know it's not in Oceanside, but it's an important part of your economy and an important part of all North County. We also have, I started a thing called Prosperity on Purpose, which was to push North County as a place to live, work, and to play. And we try to, all of the 78 corridor, all the cities along there, we're promoting North County as the spot to be. We are currently working on a new visitor center on the I-15-76 interchange, as you know, where they're doing the freeway is past Fallbrook, out in that area. 80% of North County's... Okay. All right, I guess we're milking cows tonight.
As the farm report
All
comes
right,
next,
the farm
following
report is
us.
next. All right, do you want me to be done?
No, keep going.
Well, I thought that was
Did
it.
he end up? Okay. Was that the termination sound?
Yes.
I see. The creativity comes with the fact we didn't pay him anything. So, okay. Thank you very much. Mr.
I
Wood,
was in Valley Center there.
I thought so too. Mr. Wood, would you please give us your opening statement?
Thank you very much. And like Bill, I want to say thank you to the Chamber and MiraCosta College. I appreciate that. These opening statements are usually some way you kind of pat yourself on the back and say how good you've been. It's always hard to do that. And also understanding this is a campaign. I'll try to be more honest about issues, and that changes somebody's personality when you do that. I understand that. I'm Jim Wood. I'm the mayor of the city of Oceanside, the largest city in North San Diego County. I'm running because I understand the needs and the hardworking middle class, families in the community. Bill, I hate to say this, but it's true. Bill has been out of touch with some of these people, and he is a career politician. Time and time again, he sides with big special interests and groups and ignores the needs of the community. I know that's an issue, but I want to tell you that our community needs a supervisor that listens, and I mean listens to the working people, the citizens, to improve the lives of their family, seniors and veterans in this area. I meet with all of the North County mayors twice a month, and I understand the issues facing these communities up here. Unlike my opponent, he's really not in touch with the local residents in the North County. I'm concerned about that, and that's one of the reasons I'm running. I have over 45 years, I'll repeat that, of public service as a police officer and detective for over 30 years. And I've spent, most of the law enforcement gave me a lot of insight to North County's diverse community. And I need to know that those communities are involved in politics and what's going on in North County. I became a city councilman in 2002 in Oceanside. Then I became the mayor of Oceanside in 2004. During my time on the council, I've always had a balanced budget. Crime was decreased 37%. Oceanside's image has improved and has become a much more desirable place to live and visit. Wonderful Oceanside. I lived in the North County since my father, a Navy corpsman, brought me here in 1955. About 12,000 people in Oceanside at that time. My wife of 36 years, and I've had about the same amount of time in the neighborhood we live in, and we have 3 children after those 36 years of marriage, and I'm pretty proud of them. Those 3 children, and 2 of them on the East Coast. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's not one of the children. That's our sign that time is done. The Board of Supervisors is responsible for spending billions of dollars of revenue which we get from property taxes. And so we have a question, and Supervisor Horn, I'd like to start with you on this question. What do you see as the most pressing, immediate matter before the San Diego County Board of Supervisors?
Well, the biggest issue we have right now is this AB 109, which is releasing early release of prisoners into our area without the funds to cover those. That's a big law enforcement issue, where we house them and how we do that. But we've developed I think a lot of options for that, for housing that. We are very fortunate as a county to be very solvent, so we've been able to address this issue by placing money. By the way, our budget is about $4.8 billion at the moment. It was up at 5.2. The County of San Diego, though our jails are close to capacity, and the biggest issue for us in this is the cost of probation and following these prisoners. I just got notification this morning of releasing a sex offender. They wanted to house him in Borrego Springs. They didn't bother to tell Borrego Springs about it or me, and so I immediately notified their chamber this morning, and I'd like to keep this guy from being released into our communities. And anytime somebody like us to release any one of our cities or North County, I object to it, and I do my best to keep them out of here. So,
Thank you very much. Mayor Wood, same question. What do you see as the most pressing immediate matter before the San Diego County Board of Supervisors?
I'd have to say the most pressing issue for North County right now is to have a supervisor in the 5th District that actually listens to the constituents. I think it's best to do what you can for the residents that are in your district or city, and not necessarily special interest. Bill's been there for, like he says, almost 20 years, and he's certainly been out of touch with a lot of the North County community in the sense that he's a career politician. I'm more interested in looking at what's best for the citizens in this area, listening to them, and telling the people out there that I will listen to them about what their concerns are in the North County or District 5. The community needs that on a daily basis and listening to what's happening, not just very special interest type people. And that's unacceptable. Because of that, that's why I'm running for supervisor.
Okay, thank you very much.
do I get to rebut his remarks?
No,
Oh,
but
okay.
we'll figure out some way where there may be a question or two which relates to that. Again, these questions were submitted by the area's chambers of commerce, and we're attempting to be as fair as possible. So, Jim, I'd like you to answer the next question first, and the same question will be asked of you, Bill, secondly. This question is, each member of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors has a discretionary fund in the approximate amount of $1 million. What, in your opinion, is the primary function of that fund, and what would go into your decision-making process for the distribution of these funds? Jim?
Well, I was making notes about some of the prime issues that might come up in this, and the discretionary fund must be fairly distributed. It deserves and has been distributed to many organizations that deserve it, but not giving out to groups that gain political support or influence. I don't think that's what the issue is about giving discretionary funds out. Mr. Horn has used those funds in a particular manner that's politically in nature. There's no doubt about it. Discretionary funds are from taxpayers, you and I, everybody in the audience. I don't think it's right to see a sign out there someplace to say, thank you, Supervisor Horn, for the money that you and I, the taxpayers, paid for. It's not something that he should be thanked for. It's taxpayers' money, and it concerns me. This is just another example of unacceptable behavior by Bill, and I think that's important. That used to be a $2 million discretionary fund, now removed and put down to $1 million. When it was $2 million, if you had 5 people on the board, you're talking about $10 million in discretionary funds, which should be used to betterment the citizens and what they deserve in quality of life.
Thank you. Mr. Horn, I'd like to ask you the same question. Each member of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors has a discretionary fund in the approximate amount of $1 million. What, in your opinion, is the primary function of that fund, and what would go into your decision-making process for the distribution of these funds? Bill?
Okay. Can I tell you how we created that? I've been here
It's your 90
I
seconds.
created it. In 1997, we sold the trash system in North County and San Marcos. We got $206 million for it. Our agreement with the chief administrative officer was that we wouldn't mess with their budgets, looking for our monies. and that if each district would be given $2 million that we could spend in our communities. And so the $206 million paid off the bonds. That's what gave us the high credit rating. And I think that money belongs to the taxpayers. Now, as mentioned, the taxpayers here, the unincorporated area, of which the 5th district is one of the biggest with population. Diane also has a unincorporated area with a large number, about the same we have. They pay sales tax. None of that sales tax, $28 million a year, gets back to those communities unless that money comes out of this community enhancement money. So that's what that is. That's the justification. Now we have, okay, I saw him do the card. I'm trying to give you a definition of what the fund is because you just use terms and you need to know where it came from. The funds that we give out to the entire district, but most of that money goes to the unincorporated communities, so where it's generated in the first place. So if your city councils get the sales tax back and they put in their general fund or whatever, I believe it should go back to the communities because they have no other source of taxes or benefits for that. And I'll milk that cow anytime.
Thank you very much. Okay, in keeping...
This just needs you, it's a 30-second warning.
I know, but I wanted the time to explain what you were talking about because I didn't know you know where that money came from. We saved the county's general fund $68 million a year by paying off the bonds.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. Bill, we'd like you to respond first. What makes you the better candidate for this position?
Well, I have a record you can look at for 19 years. I've basically tried to make North County benefit as much as possible from me being in office. I would like to refer back about being in touch. The mayor referred to this. Bonnie Dumanis and I came to this city in 2005, I believe, and brought to this council a $5 million grant to go to the gang issue. And the Department of Justice was going to issue the grant. All we needed was the city council's endorsement. Sherry Mackin, Esther Sanchez, and Jim voted against that. We forfeited $5 million. Now, talk to me about being in touch. That was the worst thing I've seen happen here. So I would ask Jim, what's he done in 12 years? Tell me what you've done here in 12 years. I know what I've done at the county. My record's very clear. You taxpayers have a AAA bond rating, and I think we're very frugal and prudent with your money. We've built, in my district alone, 7 new libraries with cash, 4 new sheriff stations with cash. We don't have to borrow that money, and we don't have to pay those huge labor agreements. And by the way, our retirement system is the only one listed on the New York Stock Exchange with a AAA rating.
Okay, thank you very much. Jim, I'm going to ask you the same question. What makes you the better candidate for this position?
Well, I thank you for that question. It's really one of the ones I mentioned earlier. I'm running because I believe the North County and District 5 deserve to have a supervisor that listens to them and does not do the best thing with all the outside special interest groups. I go all over the North County. I talk to people. I get the feedback on just what Mr. Horn's talking about. He has very high negative ratings, and I understand that. That makes me want to run. But Bill sides with his friends in special interests and ignores the community and neighbors. There's no doubt about it. I have 45 years of public service. I understand. I dedicated my life to public service, most of that time being a law enforcement officer, working out there. I find it's interesting that you should support the hardworking middle-class families, our veterans, and our seniors. I don't see that happening. I don't get that feedback from Bill. And what I do, if you're talking about public service and police or fire, I'm your expert in that area. I've done it all my life. And quite frankly, we turned down that thing he was talking about because it didn't work and we didn't want it. And we talked about it, and that's the way it is. But I think the community is what's more important than special interests, and that's why I'm running.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we have 2 kinds of questions. They're both narrative of nature, but the difference is some are mutual questions where each of them respond to the same question, like the first 3 questions. The second category are specific questions based upon something to do with that candidate himself. And so, Bill, I'd like to ask you the first question. In your candidate statement, you stated that while some local governments were forced to cut public services because of fiscal management, under your leadership, county government has expanded public safety services, built libraries and sheriff substations, and improved transportation, all while maintaining a AAA credit rating, balanced budget, and with no increase in taxes. How have you been able to accomplish that?
Well, first, by the way, I'm a veteran and I'm a senior citizen, so I think I qualify in both of those statements. I'm a 71-year-old ex-Marine. So anyway, the county's credit rating, which I think is the most important issue here, and the bond rating, has allowed us to build with cash. It has allowed us to build the libraries. I think we've probably built, well, I've built 8 libraries, or 7 libraries. I'm currently going to build one in Borrego Springs. But I think the other districts have each built at least 5. So if you add that all up, we're close to 30 or 40 public libraries. We think that's public service. We think that's one of the things that we add to this. The parts of the money that we spend is community enhancement, which you mentioned in the previous question. Most of that money, or I wouldn't say most, a lot of that money goes to the Boys and Girls Clubs, all of them. I have about 14 in my district. I usually challenge them to if I give each club $10,000, if they will go raise $10,000, they can have the full amount. It helps them raise money, and a lot of those people are in anti-gang programs. I think that is an issue that you cannot forget about in North County. I'm sure Oceanside has had their fair share of that stuff with the Pizzolis and the other gangs here, and the sanctions that we put on them. We have those issues in Vista. We have those issues in San Marcos. That's an issue. Whoever the county supervisor is, it cannot be forgotten that you have to deal with that.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jim, I'm going to ask you a question, and once again, this is a question specific to you. And in the opening line of your candidate statement, you indicate that there are presently many current threats to our quality of life and that we need a positive change. What, in your opinion, are the many current threats, and how do you propose making a positive change?
Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I certainly I stated earlier on some of the reasons why I'm running, and I'll go over some of those issues again. Again, I keep repeating, the big issue is having somebody that will listen to the neighborhoods and listen to what they want and have. Because you have money in the bank and you reserve, you've taken those people's money, put it in your account, not theirs. You have a lot of money, but you haven't really pushed the issue for the quality of life issues in the county. And I think Bill is a little bit out of touch, even though he says he's done a lot. By that I mean, you can't just push special interests for who wants to build 2,700 homes in a particular area, devastate their quality of life and living out there. You can't plop down Gregory Canyon landfill right on a potential water source for the entire North County that could cost Oceanside and surrounding cities just that, the loss of their water supplies, which is gold in Southern California. There's many more examples than that, but let's face it, that's irresponsible to do things like 2,700 homes in a neighborhood that would devastate that location throughout the county. And the Gregory Canyon landfill, right on a water supply for North County, we fought that for 15 years now, saying it's not the right place, not the landfill being wrong, it's in the wrong place, and everybody says that. It impacts my city and everybody else. For a man that's an agricultural, it's cutting off water supplies.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, I need to answer that question.
No.
Gregory Canyon was voted by the public in
Bill?
1993. I was not elected till 1995.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Supervisor Horn, recently, citing health concerns, the Board of Supervisors voted 3-1 to regulate electronic cigarettes and vaping devices. Supervisor Horn, you voted against the measure. Can you explain your position on this issue?
Oh, certainly. I know a number of people who have smoked most of their lives. This electronic cigarette has allowed them to stop smoking. Now, I understand. The issue before the board was whether or not to allow them in the unincorporated area of the county, because in the smoking policy as far as tobacco goes, we don't allow smoking in the buildings We don't want electronic cigarettes in the building, but that wasn't the issue. It wasn't about kids or anything else. It was about banning them in the entire unincorporated area. I'm also chairman of the North County Transit District. We don't allow smoking on our trains, and we don't want electronic cigarettes smoked around the train, or this train stops within 25 feet, the same ordinance as smoking, because it's hard for us to police that. If I have an officer there, he can't tell whether you're smoking a vapor cigarette or a regular cigarette. So in those cases, I would say specifically that we wouldn't allow it to happen. But the ordinance that came before the Board of Supervisors, and there were only 4 of us available that day, was 3-1. I think electronic cigarettes, for those who have the habit of smoking, which I don't smoke cigarettes, never have. I think it's been a miracle for them to get off of that habit, and I think it's, we talk about good health in San Diego County and Live Well San Diego. I think it's a tool. Whether you do it in your public parks, what have you, that's another issue.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Wood, on a similar subject, last night the city of Oceanside voted unanimously last night to ban e-cigarettes in public places and regulate them as traditional cigarettes. Can you explain your position on this issue?
Certainly can. I think we should listen to the experts. That's what we had at our council meeting. Experts in the field stand up and tell us why we shouldn't do it. And there are a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do it. After listening to those experts, our council, that sometimes is certainly split, voted 5-0 to do it. And it's obvious reason. Not only the health of those smokers, those kids, and the kids are really into it now, but it's healthy aspects for the rest of the county. Nobody wants to sit in a room next to a smoker, let alone somebody on an e-cigarette, not knowing what's been put in it. And they're putting everything known to mankind in it to smoke it. So you look at it as a health issue, and you certainly say no more. I was a little concerned about one part of it. Even though we said 5-0 that we don't want those anymore for all the reasons we explained, the big side of it is when I take an establishment in Oceanside that has them and doesn't, we're going to scrutinize them and be a little more strict on them for what they're doing. However, other little stores that put in a 2x4 area and put the same things in them, we don't regulate. I want that to come back to us so that we do it all over equally, not just at some establishments. They're wrong, they're being misused, and I don't want them out there.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're back to the mutual questions. The next 3 questions, we will ask the same question of each candidate, and we will start with Supervisor Bill Horn. On the subject of illegal immigration, the law in Arizona allows law enforcement officers to check the immigration status of individuals during a legal stop or detention. Critics say this borders on racial profiling, while supporters say the law is a necessary and affordable step to blocking illegal immigration. What is your position on this matter?
Well, I'm not a county supervisor in the state of Arizona, so that's not one of my issues. That issue would deal with this county sheriff, who happens to be an elected official. As far as the illegal immigration go, to me, it's illegal. As we have green card holders who come here legitimately. I'm for legitimate immigration. I think it's important. But at the same time, the county board of supervisors, we don't have a jurisdiction over that. That would be in the Sheriff Gore's purview to make those kinds of regulations. And so I defer back to Arizona.
Okay, thank you. Jim, I'm going to read you the same question, and we'll love to have your answer. On the subject of illegal immigration, the law in Arizona allows law enforcement officers to check the immigration status of individuals during a legal stop or detention. Critics say this borders on racial profiling, while supporters say the law is a necessary and affordable step to blocking illegal immigration. What is your position on the matter?
That's probably one of the most complicated questions we're probably going to have tonight. Immigration is a complex issue, no doubt about it, in our country, not just here. It's just not participating in trying to figure out how do we put out 11 million undocumented immigrants from the country. That's a task that's unbelievable. within our borders. Solving that issue involves much more than simply adding another task force or working officers that are overworked anyhow to try to overcome this issue. It just can't be done. And some of these people out there want to earn their citizenship. There's good people out there, and I've found that undocumentation leads the way to earning their citizenship in the United States. They have to play by the rules, like everybody else. There's laws out there. Living here illegally must be held responsible for what they're doing here, and if we start addressing these issues that are national security issues, criminal background checks, paying taxes and penalties for what they do, it's going to mean they have to move to the back of the line and do it legitimately. I've done this for years as a police officer. We see ways of doing it by serving in the military or pursuing higher education. This is an American dream for those people, but they have to follow the rules.
Great, thank you very much. Mayor Wood, we're going to start with you on this next question.
Sure.
According to a recent survey commissioned by the San Diego North Economic Development Council, over 43% of North County businesses are dissatisfied with the current regulatory climate, including zoning, permitting, and local and regional regulations and related issues. What could you do as county supervisor to improve the regulatory climate in the region?
Well, thank you very much. I said something about it earlier. Again, I'll tell you this. I certainly work with all the North County mayors up here in North San Diego County. We've created a North County branding initiative to attract business to the North County in this area, which will create more job opportunities. The City Council and all the North County cities refused to join Mr. Horn's POP, Prosperity on Purpose, saying it's not the right direction for the North County cities. This goes to show that Bill is not right for the North County. When you have all the North County mayors being Republicans and they don't want to join his Prosperity on Purpose, that sends a message that I think is important. Oceanside has been a key player in attracting business to North County. We're still doing that. We want to get a job and attracting thousands of quality of life jobs that will mean paying middle-class jobs, allowing people to work hard and earn enough to raise their families. And I think we've done that here in the North County. We're still working at it. Of course, remember, we've been through a couple of tough years here for the economy. We see an upturn, and I think we're working hard to do that, all the North County mayors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Horn, according to a recent survey commissioned by the San Diego North Economic Development Council, over 43% of North County businesses are dissatisfied with the current regulatory climate, including zoning, permitting, and local and regional regulations and related issues. What can you do as county supervisor to improve the regulatory climate in the region?
I started Prosperity on Purpose, which is we referred to as POP here, with the North County Economic Development Council. As you know, the North County Transit has a Sprinter line that goes from Escondido to Oceanside. What I paid for, because the cities didn't want to get involved in it, was the zoning around every one of those train stations that train passes. And look at the zoning, look at the possibilities for those lands all along there. That costs about $350,000, by the way of which came out of a community enhancement. I did it for each city, including the city of Escondido, which is not in my district, because I think if you're going to sell North County, you have to realize that all these 5 cities up here, and I'm counting Escondido, Vista, San Marcos, Oceanside, and Carlsbad, these 5 cities have now grown together. We have enough people in North County. If you count Poway and Del Mar and Encinitas and Solana Beach, in North County, we have more people than they have in the city of San Diego. We have 1,300,000 people. The city has 1,000,001. So we have to work as a unit. That's why we started this Prosperity on Purpose. I realized the mayors weren't happy because we weren't selling their specific city. We were selling this as a region, and it still is a region, and I think we're on the right track.
Thank you very much. Bill, I'm going to start with you on the next question. Over 460,000 North County commuters utilize their personal vehicles to drive to work. 86% of them drive alone. What can you do as county supervisor to increase road capacity as well as improve access to public transportation?
This is an issue. I sit on SANDAG, as Jim's used to sit on SANDAG too. But this issue came before SANDAG because the Caltrans money and the widening of I-5. I've been trying for years to get rid of that intersection of 78 and the 5. It's the only freeway I know of that you have to go to a stop sign to get on the freeway. It should be an interchange like there is on the east side. My problem with the North County mayors, and I brought this up to them and I talked to them about this, they agreed with SANDAG to transfer $400 million of North County's I-5 money to South County. The only people in North County who voted against that were myself and Sam Abed, the mayor of Escondido. We were beside ourselves that money was being transferred. That's 50 years worth of money that went to South County. Now, I think I finally have convinced Matt Hall and Jim Desmond and the others to agree. We can't let this happen again. We need to widen the I-5, period. If you go out here on a Saturday or a Sunday and look at the traffic coming to San Diego, and then watch the traffic leaving on a Sunday afternoon. This is an issue that has to be addressed, and we only have two ways into San Diego County. It's the 15 and the 5, unless you're coming on the 8 from this, so 3 ways. So I think our money needs to be spent there.
Great, thank you. Jim, I'd like to ask you the same question. Over 460,000 North County commuters utilize their personal vehicles to drive to work. 86% of them drive alone. What can you, as county supervisor, do to increase road capacity as well as improve access to public transportation?
Well, thank you. I'm usually behind those 400,000 people driving. I'm the last guy in line. It's embarrassing when I used to sit on SANDAG, which is the big government body regarding a lot of issues, and find out I'm having a hard time to drive to the SANDAG meeting because of all the traffic, and we're in charge of it. It's embarrassing. But on the other hand, we try. It's about money, about federal money, state money, and let's face it, SANDAG's Transtech money that comes in to pay for all this. There's too many issues for the entire county, but as a supervisor, you need to know that you have to work with all the other agencies. Caltrans, you name it, any other local agencies, and confine what's going to be the priorities for the whole region. And when I say that, supervisors have power votes, a lot more than cities, a lot of power votes. They can get things pushed through easier than us by their power votes. But it comes down to, hey, how about putting housing where the jobs are at, not far away where they have to drive 50 miles away? And that's called development. Again, the developers put things, make money, and they're supported by Bill and those people. So let's get them closer. That's where the houses should be. On the other hand, increased traffic is a goal, and decreasing it is a goal of all of us. SANDAG power votes would be one way to do it, and of course, mass transit comes in all the time, and we need more of that. Bill was an NCTD chair, and the spinner train stopped, had wrong brakes. Cost us millions of dollars in time and effort for a lot of people. He was the chair at the time, so that was another thing on mass transit, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Supervisor Horn, I have an individual question for you. In your candidate statement, you indicate that you created the Prosperity of Purpose program that brought local cities in the North County together to attract new businesses and jobs in North County. Can you give us some examples of new businesses and jobs which were created under this program?
Well, as I mentioned before, Prosperity and Purpose, first thing we did was we took all the cities' general plans and made them all the same language. Oceanside had a different formula than Escondido or San Marcos or Vista. They all had different kinds of categories around these train stations. So what I did is I had a consultant out of Berkeley take all the general plans and come up with the same classification. So if you visit the map of North County North County Economic Development Council, and you want to look at, let's say, Del Oro Station, you can tell what the land use is around that station because we've taken all that and put it on the same platform. Same in San Marcos. The number of we promote North County as a destination. One of the things we are currently doing is building an information center like you have in Oceanside, which I happen to support. Also, that's where some of that community enhancement money goes to the visitor center. We want to put one over on the 76 and the 15. So as you come in, and we're working with the chamber over there with the wine industry. We put in a boutique wine ordinance in the county of San Diego to allow wineries to develop and to sell their product up behind Mount Palomar. Probably you've never visited up there, but up in the Warner Springs area, we have a lot of boutique wineries.
Thank you very much.
Plus cows.
Mayor Wood, I have a question for you. In your candidate statement, you stated that you are profoundly committed to seeing this area's businesses and residents thrive. How do you propose we resolve the situation when the interests of business and residents collide?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, you won't have that kind of conflict between business and resident when you put people in office that are willing to compromise, come to the middle and talk about it. That means the supervisor's race or anywhere else. As you know, everybody battles over right or left. They should come together and think about what's best for the citizens. There's no doubt that that's a priority out there. It's easy to fix that by electing people into these offices like supervisors who will listen to the people, no doubt about it. Mr. Horn just explains prosperity and purpose. I think it's sad when we have all the North County mayors of all the largest cities, Escondido, San Marcos, Vista, Oceanside, and Carlsbad, with all of those being Republican mayors not wanting to join Mr. Horn's prosperity and purpose. That sends a heck of a message how much they think about it and think about Mr. Horn's position in North County. So we, the mayors, went separately. We're doing a branding, and we're also doing things to bring more people to North County, and we're also going to use San Diego EDC, who's been around for a long time.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, now we're back to mutual questions, and the first one I'd like to direct to Supervisor Bill Horn. It is estimated that over 50% of North County businesses are dissatisfied with the efforts of government to support economic development and entrepreneurship. How can the Office of County Supervisor support efforts in this area?
Well, I'll go back to creating prosperity and purpose. By the way, the city of San Marcos gave us $25,000 for POP, and the city of Escondido gave us $25,000. It's the cities of Vista, Oceanside, and Carlsbad that wouldn't put the money in. So there was a buy-in to that, and we're still working with all those cities. We still work with all those cities to try to promote this. Some years ago, you might remember you had a firm here in Oceanside called IDEC. They came from my office. They were going to locate at the intersection of 76 in those days and 15. We didn't have the infrastructure. I came to your city at the time, and I went to your mayor at the time and introduced them to IDEC. IDEC built a firm here. I know it's been changed and they sold, but that's how you got those employers. And what they were looking for was a reasonable housing market for their employees and a reasonable area to build their plant. So even though that is not a current project, IDEC in the beginning, I was the one who facilitated that introduction. Lynn Shank at the time brought the firm up from Chula Vista, and they didn't have to locate in Oceanside, but this was an area that we introduced them to because you had all that land up on your mesa here. So I think that's the way you can promote it. The unincorporated area, by the way, is 80% of all North County, or all the county's agriculture, speaking of that cow, comes out of North County.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Wood, it is estimated that over 50% of North County businesses are dissatisfied with the efforts of government to support economic development and entrepreneurship. How can the Office of County Supervisor support efforts in this area?
Thank you. Well, I think that businesses and residents can coexist if they use common sense. What I mean that is you don't place a dump on your water supply. You don't put thousands of homes in a neighborhood that's going to be a negative impact on all the quality of life in that particular community. You develop a long-term master plan, like a general plan, like most cities do in the county. These are guidelines for developers, what they can do, and they like the general plan. Here's the issue, though. If you do a general plan, which costs a lot of money, millions of dollars, and maybe a decade of time and effort for all the citizens in that area, a lot of time and money, millions, you got to stick to it. Don't sell out to your developer friends like Bill does every election cycle. Don't ignore the needs of the neighborhood. The general plan took all that time for the County of San Diego, and Mr. Horn doesn't support it and wishes to change it. Again, he didn't listen to all those people who made the general plan and came together to do it with time, money, and efforts, and then you want to change it after they do it. That's not listening to the neighborhoods.
Thank you. Jim, I'd like you to answer this next question first. What can you do as county supervisor to increase jobs in the North County region?
Well, I've done that already in the Oceanside area, but like I say, I'm working with a thing like Mr. Horn. He calls it POP, but nobody wanted to join it. All the mayors in the North Counties have joined it, trying to go out there and make plans to work together as mayors. And we also allowed our city managers, our EDC staff, all of them to work with all the other cities together. In other words, we already have staff at each cities, but we dropped our boundaries and said, let's work together on everything to bring up here. Then we decided, are we going to join North County EDC and their development? No, we said they're too young. We decided to go with San Diego because people that call here from out of the area to want big jobs and businesses here, they tend to call San Diego first. So we're dealing with somebody who's got the ability and the name, knowledge, and information to bring it here. Plus, when you have a signature on a letter to a business from all 5 of the North County mayors to bring your business here, let me tell you, that says a lot to the people who are trying to find their way here. That brings jobs, and all the mayors are working together to do that. We even dropped boundaries for our fire department for closest apparatus can respond to other cities. We're saying let's work together on this.
Great, thank you very much. Bill, I'd like to ask you the same question. What can you do as our county supervisor to increase jobs in the North County region?
Well, first off, let me go back. The cities have their own rules, each one of the cities, and they have the majority. I have the unincorporated area as far as the land use goes. It was mentioned the general plan, which I voted against. Yes, I did. As I mentioned earlier, 80% of the county's agriculture comes out of North County. These are all owned by mom and pop type farms. We don't have any big corporations that own farms here. What general plan did to them was downzone their land. Many people lost over 50% of the equity in their property by that zoning. That's why I voted against it. I voted with the Farm Bureau. I voted with the farmers. You talking about locally. I guarantee you nobody on that board other than me talked to those agriculture folks in Fallbrook and the Valley Center area and Mount Palomar area. They have millions of dollars invested in those groves and those green hills, which produce fruit, produce almost close to $5 billion by the time you take it to market out of North County. 4th largest industry. I think they should have been protected, and I will continue to work on changing that plan, especially for them, because they should not have been robbed, and that's what they were. They were robbed.
Okay, thank you very much. And this third question, Bill, I'd like to start with you on. How can the county supervisor assist our business community to interface with our educational institutions to provide a more job-relevant education?
Well, part of the North County Economic Development Council, we sat down with the universities, which Jim doesn't seem to want to be part of, and we asked the businesses what we were missing out of the University of San Marcos, Palomar College, MiraCosta College. Why weren't they hiring the folks that were graduating out of here? And they gave us some very specifics in that survey. They wanted engineering. They wanted biotech engineers. They wanted people that had degrees in courses we were not offering here. So we sat down with the universities and said, okay, this is what the biotech industry wants. This is what engineering wants. This is what the different businesses in North County are looking for. We would like to hire our graduates. We would like to keep our talent here rather than having it move away. So that's one of the things that's part of what I spent my money on, is doing that. And that's the outgrowth of this prosperity on purpose issue. I think at some point everybody will get together on this thing, and we will be recruiting. We are looking for grants now to advertise the area. We have a lot of inquiries, but you got to remember the Board of Supervisors only deals with the unincorporated area. We can help influence the cities, but we don't have any jurisdiction. The city councils are independent groups. They have their own jurisdictions. By the way, we have one of the largest gaming operations in the country in Palma Valley. You have 5 major casinos.
Thank you.
That
Jim?
cow, I'm going to take it home with me.
Jim, we'd like to ask you the same question. I'll read it one more time, please. How can the county supervisor assist our business community to interface with our educational institutions to provide a more job-relevant education?
Well, I truly believe they are and starting to do just that. In Oceanside, we certainly just Oceanside, and now the North County alone have, like Bill had said, we've dealt with all the MiraCosta, Palomar College, Cal State San Marcos. And what the need is out there is education in the field that's coming to this region. In other words, they want workers that know about it. That's what those schools, we've talked to them about it. We did that for a long time with Gin and Tech and Oceanside, trying to make sure the colleges turn out educational people that can work in that field. We also know that the schools have done an excellent job of educating and motivating our students and children in their partnerships. I understand that, and that's important to all of us, especially in the science fields. So we'll see that coming here in the businesses and that workforce. That's what they want. When you bring a business here, they want to have an educated workforce to be in their buildings. We are working with those schools and all the higher education schools. Again, it comes about by listening to what those businesses want and need, and listening to the community needs. It's very important. Those organizations in the North County will meet that. Again, it really means turning out students that are educated in the area for driving, traffic, all the things we talked about, that they will have the knowledge to be able to work in those organizations and companies. And we see it moving forward, like I said, with our mayors.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're back to the individual specific questions, and Supervisor Horn, I have the first question for you. In your statement, you indicate that you have led efforts to increase safety and lengthen the runway at Palomar Airport so that it can offer more convenient commercial flights to North County travelers and businesses. What do you see as the economic benefit of this effort?
Oh, the study that we had on Palomar Airport, the safety apron on the west side is an extra 300 feet made out of a ceramic runway, which will cost about $25 million, by the way of which the FAA will pay for. So that's already in the process. The other end, the 900 feet on the east end, will allow much quieter corporate jets to land there with much more fuel, both to take off and to land. This will bring, as I mentioned before, we have about 2,200 jobs here. With the lengthening of the runway and the increase, we could probably double that. In addition to that, currently the airport not only has an $81 million payroll, I could see that doubling. Also, the $300 million impact that it has in North County, that will have an impact. By the way, the moment I brought this issue up and it was in the newspaper, a week later, 11 Chinese investors showed up wanting to buy the airport. And we tried to explain to them that we do not sell government facilities. So, and they wanted to buy a casino. So I took them out to Rincon and let them park your casino. But you can't, that belongs to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. By the way, as I mentioned before, you have 5 casinos. Each of one of those casinos, there's 3 of them at least have $1 billion a year in revenue. And those are a lot of jobs in North County. But you have, and that Cal and I, we have more casinos than most states in the union do.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mayor Wood, in your candidate statement, you have asked for votes so that together we can put an end to politics as usual. How do you propose we put an end to politics as usual?
I may have covered it earlier. It's called Who You Vote into Office. Somebody like myself, I get along with generally most everybody. Few people I don't because they walk in Bill's footsteps. But on the other hand, I think who you elect to office can get rid of some of the problems. Trying to work together in politics. When I swore in as a mayor of Oceanside, I raised my hand and said I'd be nonpartisan. Supposed to be nonpartisan. I'm a moderate Republican, but on the other hand, I have to deal with Democrats in Washington. I have to deal with Democrats in Sacramento. I deal with all of them because of one thing. I remain nonpartisan. I try to be there. I continue it. With that, you get to work with both sides, and they work with you. And I think that's important. It's not politics as usual. It's representing the people that you've been put into office to represent. And that way you do it by going out and being able to get along with both sides. And that's what I've done for year after year, both sides working with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Bill, I have a question for you. In your ballot statement, you tell the voters that as chair of the North County Transit District, you fought for North County's fair share of regional transportation funds. Can you tell us exactly how much is North County's fair share of these funds and how successful you were in getting us that amount of dollars?
Well, first off, let me talk about the railroad. The Los Angeles corridor is the second busiest corridor in the country. The busiest is Boston to New York, but from Los Angeles to San Diego, it's the second largest, busiest corridor. We're trying to double track our portion. We only own to the Oceanside, the Orange County border to the city of San Diego. So over time, we hope to double track that. And so our biggest issue at the time was our bridges, which we currently have under schedule to replace them. We have some old wooden trestles that were built back about 1918 and 1920s. Those need to be replaced, all of them. We have saltwater borers that have gone into those. If you'll notice, all the bridges we've done, we've double tracked the lagoons. Every time we replace one of those, we double track them, even though we may not have the double tracks in between. We currently are doing a double tracking from Oceanside, from Stuart Mason North, all the way to the Orange County border. We currently have 58 trains a day on our corridor. So part of that money it comes from Washington and it comes from Sacramento, and we have to fight for that money. And I think we have gotten our fair share. We got enough out of Congress to pay attention to our trestles. My biggest fear is I'm going to have one of these trestles collapse on a train and lose a whole train. And that Callan has never ridden a train.
Thank you. From your perspective, tell us about the successes and failures of regional collaborative groups such as Prosperity on Purpose and Branding North County. Why do they work or not work?
Well, they need to work. You have a number of organizations. Let's go back to the gang issue. I have the North County Gang Task Force, which we created in 1995. We then, after we had our issue with this Oceanside City Council turning down the grant, we created the Gang Commission so that we wouldn't have to have that endorsement anymore. We could just go to the Gang Commission and get their approval. We worked at the Department of Justice to do that. We have had since I've been a supervisor, public safety has been a major issue for us. As you know, I'm a former Marine Corps officer. I like law and order. We had a number of gangs here, and when I became supervisor in 1995, we had 10 homicides in Balderrama Park. It was the Pazzolis. And so we arrested 28 of them. We started gang sanctions. I was then sued by the ACLU for violating their constitutional rights. By the way, they got nowhere. We won that one, and I've been sued many times over this issue, but I have sanctions in gangs in Vista and San Marcos, Escondido. The gang issue, I'll go back to that. I'm happy to say that I have had law enforcement support because of my public safety stand. I'm law enforcement's choice here in North County. I've had both local and state law enforcement associations have endorsed me, and I'm happy to have that endorsement. But I think that is an issue for us. It's an issue that you don't want to address, but at the same time, it's an issue that has to be addressed, and that Cal needs to address it too. So
Thank you very much. Okay, Jim, I'm going to ask you the same question and would love to hear your response. From your perspective, tell us about the successes and failures of regional collaborative groups such as Prosperity on Purpose and Branding North County. Why do they work or not work?
Thank you. I'm not sure what all the law enforcement aspect was part of that question, but I'll tell you that if I've been in over 30 years law enforcement, if anybody knows about it, it's going to be me. And as for endorsements, I get endorsed by the largest police agency in North County, besides the sheriff's, that's Oceanside, by the fire departments too. But that's a different story. The question is organizations, branding. Our group is doing a branding right now. That's going to be put out there to everybody to say, why would I want to come to Southern California? Why would I come to San Diego? Why would I come to North County? That's what branding is for, and we hope that it works. Totally hope that it works. As for regional organizations, over the years, yes, they help, usually because of money. Somebody gets a grant or money, and those organizations tend to work together and try to resolve those issues. Responding to the questions about why we didn't take his grant in the county, I go to my experts, the law enforcement, and say, do you want this? And when they say no, I'm not going to pick it. So we figure there's a better group out there, we can do it. Organizations generally you see out in the area are law enforcement. But like I say, law enforcement is important, but we also have fire in the region. We have regional dispatch on the North County for all fire agencies. I sit on that board too. It's important. And the county is important, as every year or two the whole county burns down. And there's been problems there, and that's the county.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jim, I'd like you to start with this next question. Do you think the interchange at Rancho Del Oro and Highway 78 has important regional consequences? And if so, why?
No. The issue has been brought up so many times that sometimes we get tired of talking about it. What it is when I first ran in the area of that RDO at 78 issue, a bridge over from Oceanside to Carlsbad. I walked that whole neighborhood door to door in the Oceanside. Nobody wanted it. They were told that it wouldn't be a 6-lane highway going through their residential area, number one. I talked to the congressman and says, we don't fund things that people don't want and they're not a priority. You talk to Carlsbad, and Carlsbad was not interested in funding it themselves, wanting to go to bigger groups because that would be expensive. Carlsbad all of a sudden sells their land on their side to make it a habitat. Are you going to be able to drop a freeway bridge into habitat in this state? I don't think so. That's a waste of time and money, your money, number one. Also, we see out there, Caltrans, when I talked to them, they said they don't like what they call the dangerous X pattern. In other words, they don't like to put a ramp between more than a mile close to each other like College Boulevard and El Camino Real. You put one in the middle, you have people taking off and coming out, passing each other, calling an X pattern. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to fund it, and we can't afford to fund it. So I think without the federal and people doing it, it's not going to go anywhere, and City of Carlsbad and Oceanside are not going to pay for it.
Thank you very much. Bill, I'd like to ask you the same question to get your opinion. Do you think the interchange at Rancho Del Oro and Highway 78 has important regional consequences? And if so, why?
Well, this is not an issue that comes before the Board of Supervisors, and it hasn't really come before SANDAG. It's a city issue, and it deals between two cities. It doesn't cross my jurisdiction. So, but I would imagine through street. I was glad when they took the Vista Road all the way down to Palomar Airport Road. I think that was important. Melrose. The cities have grown together. They used to be separate. When I first became supervisor, you had open space between Vista and Oceanside, and open space between Carlsbad and Vista. Those are gone now. You're on one side of the street, you're in Oceanside. The next side, the other side of the street, you're in Vista. I think I like the fact that the cities are separate. We all have, you have 5 distinct cities in North County, but at the same time, they do need to work together. But you all have your own jurisdictions. I want to return to one item here, if I might, Gregory Canyon. That was voted before I ever became supervisor, and the voters approved that item and took it away from the Board of Supervisors. We have no jurisdiction, nor have we ever had any jurisdiction since the vote in 1993. And that was 2 years prior to me becoming a supervisor. By the way, they went into bankruptcy. I'm looking at buying the entire 1,700 acres as a regional park.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, Bill, I'd like to start with you, and it almost tags on to one of the things you just said. With respect to California's current drought and concern for all known freshwater resources, describe your proposed actions to protect underground water aquifers located within the 5th District.
Well, let's go to the San Luis River. That's a source that comes off of Mount Palomar, 59 inches a year of rain. That's an active river. I'm sure that Oceanside pulls, I think you have a desal plant to pull some of that water out. I don't want it contaminated. As a farmer and a member of the Farm Bureau in 1993, when they brought up this Gregory Canyon issue, I opposed it. I still oppose it. I think that no matter what kind of liner they put in there or whatever, it can contaminate that water supply. We don't use that water supply, by the way, as we ought to be using it. You have a Rainbow District, which goes down into that river. They use very little of that. You have Wairima, which uses it because that water comes off of Mount Palomar. And I think Oceanside uses some desal. But what we have done in the county of San Diego is blocked all of our rivers. That's why you have no sand on your beaches, because we have Lake Hodges Dam. We have blocked those riverways. So there's no deposit of sand coming out of there. As far as water goes, the aquifers, unfortunately, we don't have an alluvial plain like Orange County does, and I know that cow's going to go off in a minute. I don't want to get into water too deeply. I've drilled 29 wells in my life. I worked for Voice of America. That's what I did in Israel. I drilled water wells for those radio antennas. But we do have some water here, but we don't have enough. At 800 acres, $100 an acre foot, that cow is going to die because he can't afford $1,000 an acre.
Thank you very much. We'll water him at the end of the program.
Yeah, I hope
okay, Jim, I'd like to ask you the same question, if I may. With respect to California's current drought and concern for all known freshwater resources, describe your proposed actions to protect underground water aquifers which are located within the 5th District.
Well, certainly Oceanside's concerned about trying to protect our city, let alone all the others in the county. There is not any more valuable item than water in Southern California. We're desert down here. The problem is we have to get it from other people, so we're getting the problems with the smelt up in the Sacramento area, and we certainly have the water brought in from Colorado River, but our biggest problem is the Metropolitan Water District. That's why we have a big lawsuit pending right now from the San Diego Water Authority by them having double-digit increases about the water just for transportation purposes. That's passed through to all of you. We have to pay for. But in Oceanside, certainly us, if I just look at my city, we try to protect us. We're one of the rare cities that does 20% of our water from underground from the San Luis River. That saves the taxpayer money in my city by getting cheaper water from underground we do ourselves. We want to go to 50%. Hard to go build a facility up to 50%, costs millions of dollars to find out one leak in a piece of plastic up at the Gregory Canyon landfill in Pala could contaminate all my downstream water and wreck all the money I've invested. That's a problem. We are going to protect the water. It is important. I will. Believe it or not, that area out there, he talks about casinos, they're still mad at Pala that they put that dump on that site on their valuable Indian property, let alone the value of that water downstream. I don't mind dumps, but don't put it on water. And yes, the county did have a lot of impact on that area out there.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, we're getting close to the moment I'm sure the candidates are looking forward to. Just one more question. And I do want to say, on behalf of the BACPAC Committee, we appreciate so much. I know it took time out of your busy schedules, and it's no fun being on the hot seat. And we happen to have 2 hot seats there today with questions of which you had no previous knowledge. We certainly appreciate you being here and also the dedication to the positions which you presently serve. So here's the last question, and Mayor Jim Wood, I'd like to start with you, please. Realtors constantly tell us their most significant issue is one of inventory. For more than a dozen years, there has been an average of 11,000 fewer homes built annually than is required in our county. What would you do to begin to address the issue of market rate housing for our workforce?
Well, that's a tough one because the reason it's gone down, everybody knows, the economy. Nobody's been building because of it, so that's why it's gone down. On the other hand, a city like Oceanside and some of the other cities in North County, the jobs to housing ratio is down. So we want to bring that up. People like in cities that have problems like that, they want to build commercial, industrial that brings in money. Houses don't. So with that, we have to address it. Priorities. The other one is, there's no doubt about this, that the type of buildings that have to be built in the future is going to be a lot smaller footprint, more eco. We're working towards that. And also Sandag says we're supposed to build so many houses, affordable housings in our individual areas. So it is an issue, but over the last 4 or 5 years, that's not been the issue. Nobody's building. That's where we laid off people who did all the review on all the buildings because nobody was building.
Thank you very much. And Supervisor Bill Horn, I'd like to ask you the same question. I'll repeat it. Realtors constantly tell us their most significant issue is one of inventory. For more than a dozen years, there has been an average of 11,000 fewer homes built annually than is required in our county. What would you do to begin to address the issue of market rate housing for our workforce?
First thing I do is change the general plan, which my opponent here seems to be enamored with. They downzone those properties. They won't allow those people to build houses on them. In many cases, they downzone them, one home for 20 acres. I don't know how many want 20 acres of grass to cut, but at the same time, you can't build houses on those. And they did that the entire unincorporated area. So if you want to change the land acquisition is one of the major issues. The other issue is along the rail line. I only have very little unincorporated area between San Marcos and Vista that's unincorporated. But I have suggested to the cities, which they seem to have rejected at the moment, that the densities along that rail line within a mile of those train stations, they ought to increase. That way you would get more housing. It would make more sense. If you want people to use public transit, because you had one of your issues was the fact that so many people are getting on the freeway. That's another issue. So there's a lot you can do regulation-wise. One of our benefits is we have 5 cities. One of our drawbacks is we have 5 cities. We have 5 sets of ordinances, 5 sets of rules. So if you want to lower the cost of housing, I think you're going to have to change some of the rules. Is this our last question, or do we
Yes,
get
sir.
a closing statement? Or no?
No closing statement.
All right. I just want to point out, it was mentioned, I'm law enforcement's choice in North County. I have the DSA's endorsement. I have the probation officer's endorsement. I have PORAC's endorsement. I have been on this crime issue, and including that cow, for a long time.
Thank you. Can we show our appreciation to our wonderful candidates? Supervisor Bill Horn, Mayor Jim Wood, we appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for your service to our communities.
Thank you.